Okay, for the irrigation, the unfortunate reality is with most landscaping jobs you need one of these. It's always typically involving some digging, so it's always worth getting a decent shovel because you will get a lot of use out of it. This one's showing its age and that because it's got a lot of use. It's got a pointy end on it which helps for these sort of jobs where you're digging. Yeah, so I need to dig a trench all around the centre of the yard. As per the design, I want to minimise the distance between the manifold and each head, so we'll dig the trenches such that we can do the best we can to achieve that. There's something else is about how deep. Often people ask me to dig. Well, reality is with this sort of pipe, because it's low pressure pipe, you don't need to dig it deep, you just need to cover it. The only thing is in my lawn, or maybe in your own as well, I like to scarify the lawn from time to time, so I don't want the scarified digging up the pipes, so I will probably dig a little bit deeper just to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I'll probably do a couple 100 mil, 300 mil, which is probably deeper than you need. All you really need to do is make sure the pipe's covered. That's the most important thing. So yeah, it's a case of getting into it, and unfortunately there's no simple way. You can get some gear to dig trenches if you would like, but I need the exercise, so I'm going to start digging. Okay, we've got the trenches dug, as we just showed you. The next thing is to put your lateral pipe in. Now there's pipe and there's pipe. Now I use 19 mil pipe pretty much for everything. It's a good balance between getting the pipe big enough for the lawn but not going too silly, and I use this black lateral pipe. Now there's a couple of different types of pipe you can get, and there's something just worth noting, and I've got a couple of samples here to show you the difference. Mainly it comes down to the pressure rating of the pipe. Now this pipe, which I like to use underneath the ground, is rated to 500 kPa. If you may remember, we checked the pressure at the tap, it was over 300 kPa. Well, the typical lateral pipe you can get from most hardware shops is rated at 300, so that's right on the limit of the rating. Now it's unlikely that the pipe will burst so much, but it does make a difference in how you handle it and the kinking that you can get in the thinner pipe. So I'll just show you, I've got a couple of samples here. You may not be able to see it, but if I just come up close here, you may be able to see the two pipes. The 500 is just a little bit thicker, and the other thing that I like about the 500 is, as I said, is it doesn't kink. When you're pulling it out, no matter how you try, the thinner pipe tends to kink, so you get a lot more, it kinks like this all the time. And the problem with that is you then get these little faults in here, and they're a great place for cracks to occur and leaks to occur. So I tend to find I do use this stuff in the gardens where it's visible. It's a bit cheaper, it's a bit easier to work with when you go to punching holes in it when you're doing drippers and so on. But in the lawns I always go for a slightly thicker pipe, and in this case 500 kPa lateral pipe, and that's what I'm going to lay today in the trenches. Okay, we've got the main spine, as I call it, the spine down the centre of the job with the pipe in place, and now I'm just going around to each of the joins, shooting out to the heads and cutting the pipe and connecting up. Now I either use a T-piece like this, 19 mil, or a cross like that. In this case I can use a cross because the heads have actually worked out to be directly opposite each other. And then you've got your ratchet clamps, and this is the other good little tool to have in your possession for this sort of job. You're doing a lot of cuts. This is quite a safe option rather than using something like a Stanley knife or a cutting knife, and it gives a much neater cut, so it's worth the 20 or 30 bucks, whatever they might cost you, to get one of these, because you are cutting quite a lot before the job's finished, so they're very good. So I'll just cut through there. As you can see, it's nice and simple. I've got the pipes for shooting out to either end. So what I'll do is I'll just put your clamp on. You can, obviously if you forget to put the clamp on, you can wrap it around like that. And then put this in. That's a bit of force to get it in, which means it's nice and tight. Sometimes I just get a pair of pliers or some sort of ratchet just to give it another little touch, just to make it a little bit stronger. Because it may not be as tight as it could be with your hands. Righto, that's one, and I'll do this pipe heading out here. You can see the way these bend, but Okay, all the joints are in now. You can see the joins down here running up to the ends. Now what you've just noticed on each of the ends of the pipe, I've taped them up. I've bent it over and taped it up. The reason I'm doing that is I want to do a pressure test, so I don't want any water coming out, and I want to do that before I connect any heads or anything. This is simply to make sure all the joins are all tight, and I can bury the pipe, because once I bury the pipe, if there's any leaks I may not see them, so now's the time to check that. Again, joins, taped up pipes. It also means that because I won't get time today to do all the heads, that it's going to stop any rubbish getting down the end of the pipe as well. So it'll keep them, vermin or any dirt or rubbish getting down the pipes, because I might be a day or two before I can get back to do it. So it's also good for that reason. But the reason I'm mainly doing it is so that you can see they're all taped up. So I can do a pressure test now and then bury it all so the yard's at least half respectable, so that I can come back and do the heads whenever I get a chance. Okay, this is the end of the pipe and where the manifold's going. What I want to do is pressure test it, as I mentioned. So I've just bought a normal hose fitting that screws in to a 19mm connector, like so. So I can put this on the end of the pipe, ratchet it up. I'm just neating off that end. That's what's nice about this tool, that the end's not real neat, so it's so easy just to make sure it's a nice neat cut there. Plastic up there. And I put this on, then I can connect the hose to it, put it up to full pressure and just make sure nothing leaks. Make sure it's on nice and tight. Righto. Okay, then we're going to connect up the hose. So we just got our little fitting like that on the hose. Goes into there, all these you can get. And that's now connected up back to our tap, and I'll put our tap on full bore, and we'll go around and see if we have any leaks. Well, I've just come down to one of the front joints at the front of the yard, and lo and behold, we have a leak. So while I was hoping to get none, this is why we do a pressure test, because it's nice, good water leaking out. And particularly in this case, it's leaking out below the pipe, so there's even less chance of me seeing that ever coming up, but it's always going to be there leaking. So especially when there's pressure on the pipe. So this is why we do a pressure test before we bury the pipe, for this exact reason. I'm not exactly sure where that's coming from, but I'll pull it apart, take the pressure off, pull it apart and fix it up, and we'll check it again. So I've just got the pressure on now. I'm not sure if you can see that. There's a tiny little pinhole leak that I've picked up. Interestingly enough, the joints are fine, but when I was bending around getting the joints together, I've obviously just nicked that and crimped it. Now if I'd have buried all that, obviously I wouldn't have seen it, probably wouldn't have even been a worry, but you would have seen that's water being wasted, and eventually would have had a big wet spot here. So that's what the advantage is of doing a pressure test. I'll go around and check all the other joints, but that's one place I'm going to have to cut out and repair. Better doing it now than later. So yeah, interesting. The joints look fine. There's no water coming out of the joints, at least at this spot anyway. But there is a little nick in the pipe. Okay, I've just repaired that hole. Don't tape it up or anything. You've got to really, if you've got a cut like that, you need to cut it out completely and rejoin it. If you can avoid too many joints, I just reconnected the T-piece into a new, slightly different location. And I've got the pressure on there from the mains, and that leak's gone now, so that's problem solved. So yeah, that's why it's worth doing the pressure check. You'll find those little things, and it's surprising where you might find those leaks. So yeah, do that before you bury everything, and you'll be much better off than finding a leak later on and having to dig it out when you're unsure what's going on. It's much harder then. Okay, now that we've pressure tested everything, I can start putting the grass back in place. Because we cut it up, it's nice and neat. It's just a matter of plonking it back in. It's going to be as unlevel as anything, but we'll come back later and fill it up with some extra soil. I'll get a roller over it at some point, but for now, I just want to bury it back again. So again, puff, puff, puff for an old fella, but You can see I've still got the hose on and pressure tested everything, and it's all looking reasonably good. Fixed the repairs. This is where the manifold's going to go. At the moment I've just got one zone in. I've got to sort out the other zones, but at least this one part of the lawn is, and I needed to get it buried again because I couldn't get it all done in a day. So she looks pretty rough and ready at the moment, but this lawn needs a major going over anyway. And yeah, so I've tried to do the best I can to put the grass back in, but as I said, this is going to need a lot of tidying up as time goes on. I've got the ends where the heads are going to go. Won't get to do that today, so I've just tied those off to help me pressure test and stop getting any rubbish in, but at least it's all covered over now. Clearly, if you're doing it on a brand new lawn, you'd do this before you put any grass down, but this we've been here for quite a long time and it's a retrofit, so that means you're going to probably have to do a fair bit of lawn work after you're finished. But there we go, that's the first lot of pipes in, laid. That's the manual work done. And the next stage we can start to look at putting the heads in. Unfortunately I have to dig another zone in the other part of the yard, but at least that's one major milestone.
If this video was helpful, you can get a lot more information on our website, completelandscapes.co.nz, or check out other videos on our YouTube channel.